Hello everyone, I'm Michael McGorry and welcome to a brand new segment on the Movies and Milk YouTube channel that I'd like to call TV and Booze. If you're wondering why TV and Booze, well it's fairly simple. You binge watch TV shows and you also binge drink. Trust me, the name TV and Booze makes a lot more sense than Movies and Milk. I mean, whoever came up with that title should bathe in a bathtub filled with acid. I'll go fill up the bath. Let us go, boys. That was probably incredibly loud there. So on this maiden voyage of TV and Booze, I'm going to be discussing the most recent Disney Plus Marvel Cinematic Universe TV show, WANDAVISIon. Essentially how this video is going to play out is I'm just going to have a little general chit chat about a show that I grew to really like. So if you're looking for a YouTube video that theorises and analyses each individual Easter egg that's within WandaVision and how it connects to the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you're not going to find it here. There's plenty of YouTube videos about that. I'm just here to get drunk. And of course, it wouldn't be a general chit-chat about the show if I was the only one talking, so please, if you have seen WandaVision, tell me in the comment section down below what your thoughts and opinions are. Let's start a little discussion. And whilst you're down there, don't forget to like and subscribe, as well as follow us over on Facebook and especially Instagram. I say especially because it was the votes on a recent poll that I put on Instagram that brought you this very video. I felt like the best way to do it was just discuss each individual episode, with the added gimmick of having a shot of sewers with every episode that I discuss. I know sewers is like baby's first shot, but I'm going to be down in 9 shots of this stuff in the span of like 90 minutes, so plus I'm a lightweight, so it's going to be bad news. It's just stupid. It's a stupid, immature idea, so why not bring it to a video? Fuck it, we're here for a good time, not a long time. Let's discuss episode 1. WandaVision, WandaVision. I feel like I should spruce up this wall a bit, don't you? I feel like this wall's a bit bland and bare looking. Give me 1 minute. There you are, spruced. WandaVision. WandaVision. You probably can't read that, it's probably too light. So it's just going to look like a random piece of paper on my wall. Is that maybe a bit too high actually? Let me bring that down a bit. So the first episode of WandaVision saw the characters of Wanda and Vision getting married and arriving to their new suburban home, all in a 1950s sitcom style. And I feel like I should disclose my thoughts on the Marvel Cinematic Universe before I go any further. It's fine. Most of the movies in the MCU are just solid, stuff your faces with popcorn, crowd-pleasing blockbusters that I only really find entertaining when seeing them on the big screen. So seeing as I'm not that big of a fan of the MCU, whether I was going to watch this show from beginning to end was purely dependent on this first episode. If this first episode of WandaVision was shite, I was never coming back for episode 2. But thankfully, I really, really liked the first episode of WandaVision. It is probably one of the best pilot episodes that I've seen for a TV show. The only recent TV show whose first episode comes to par with WandaVision is probably The Boys. And similarly to that show, I just loved all of the characters that were in this first episode. Not just Wanda and Vision, but also Agatha and the Hart couple. And it would have been easy for this show to just spoof 50s sitcoms, but you could tell that the creators of this show really did their research to make it as authentic as possible. It was heartwarming, it was funny, with 1 or 2 dark and mysterious scenes thrown in for good measure. It was a very, very good first episode. I wasn't even going to watch this show, I just watched the first episode because I couldn't be bothered watching SpongeBob for the 50th time.
WANDAVISION.
Episode 2, baby, here we go. That wasn't even a full shot. Sours is one of those things, you think you're going to get used to it the next time you drink it, but it just ends up being... It's sickeningly sweet. So episode 2, entitled Don't Touch the Dial, I thought was just as strong as the first episode, maybe even better. I absolutely adored the animations that were in this. Also, the characters of Wanda and Vision. I believe Vision was killed off way too soon in the MCU. I really liked their romantic chemistry, but it was only really shown in like 2 or 3 movies. So having them be the stars of their own TV show just made their relationship even stronger, and it helped me to understand why so many audience members loved them in the first place. Even in the first scene of this episode, where Vision is scared of thunder, it was just nice. It was just wholesome. I saw that these first 2 episodes weren't as highly rated as the other episodes on IMDb, and I think that's just because people don't want wholesome comedy anymore. We're living in dark times, boys. We're living in dark times. There's a reason why I'm drinking heavily in the house myself. And speaking of the comedy, this episode was just 10 times funnier than the first episode. Particularly in the episode's final set piece where Vision and Wanda are performing in this talent show. This final sequence also gave the rest of the residents in Westview a time to shine. It's just like, could this show get any better?
WANDAVISION.
I'm a third of the way through. I can do this. Now, episode 3 is when things really started to kick into first gear. Give me a second whilst I have some of these peanuts. I've got some peanuts on standby because you shouldn't drink on an empty stomach. That's one piece of advice I give you. Don't drink on an empty stomach. It's weird to think that back in the day, pubs and bars used to just have a bowl of peanuts just sat on the bar. Anyway, yes, episode 3, entitled Now in Colour, showed Vision and Wanda having babies. Well, that was a thing that they established at the end of the second episode, was that Wanda had became pregnant. You can tell that the alcohol's getting to me, I'm running a bit slow here. And episode 3 showed Wanda going from being pregnant to giving birth within the span of a day. I think the introduction to the characters of Billy and Tommy, who are Wanda and Vision's children, was a great thing to add into the show. It just added an extra little dynamic. Obviously, we only saw them as little babies in this episode, but there was the potential. But then the ending of episode 3 came about, and that's when I started to show some worries. I knew that eventually this show would stop becoming a homage to old sitcoms and would eventually delve into the more Marvel stuff. And with the reveal of this entire sitcom environment being within this hexagonal bubble, I felt rather mixed about that reveal. It definitely made me want to come back for the next episode just to maybe figure out what was going on. But again, I was getting so into the retro 50s, 60s and 70s aesthetic of the show that I felt a bit disappointed. Please bear in mind, folks, that at the time of filming this, I've seen episodes 1 to 8 twice now. I watched the episodes weekly as they came out, and I also binged watched them all as well as the finale for this video. And with this final reveal having me roll my eyes on first viewing, on second viewing, knowing where the show would end up going, it was perfectly fine.
WANDAVISION.
This is to all my Instagram followers who voted me to do this. I could have just been reviewing Raya and the Last Dragon soberly, but nah, you just wanted to see me get rat-arsed. Bottoms up. I've just realised my fat head is covering this. Maybe I should move it to the side a bit. I feel like it should maybe move. How's that? Does that work? Does that work? Don't look at my ass, my eyes are up here. Episode 4 Before I watched this episode for the first time, I saw that the title was We Interrupt This Programme, and I also saw that this was the thumbnail image, and I was like, right, okay, the sitcom patter ends here. I pushed play, I watched the 30 second, I pushed play, I watched the 30-minute long, I pushed play, I watched the 30-minute long episode, and I was pleasantly surprised. The opening scene of this episode in particular was probably the best opening scene out of the entire series. If you're unfamiliar with the MCU and you don't know what the blip is, then I'm sorry, I'm too drunk to explain it to you. Just search it up on Google. But the start of this episode showed the aftermath of the blip, something that was previously just a passing joke in Spider-Man Far From Home, and it really showed the serious consequences of this act. I completely forgot the point that I was making. Watch episode 4 for yourself. I'm not going to describe the first scene to you, but what I'm saying is I really liked the tone in this first scene. It was very, very dark. Then the show also reintroduces minor comic relief characters from previous MCU movies, and Detective Jimmy Woo from Ant-Man and the Wasp, and Darcy Lewis from Thor and Thor the Dark World. Yes, Thor the Dark World, yes, I was thinking Thor Ragnarok, but thankfully she wasn't in that film. And surprisingly enough, I quite liked them in this episode, and I liked them throughout the entire series. They didn't overstay their welcome, they were very much just side characters. And whilst this episode does deviate from the retro sitcom feel of the previous episodes, I do feel like this episode came at the right time. It explained some of the dark, mysterious things that happened in previous episodes. And I know for a fact that if this reveal had came at like the second last episode of the show, I would be a lot more pissed. And I couldn't wait until next week where I was promised more sitcom shenanigans. WandaVision. Cheers. This episode and the 2 episodes that follow it sort of have the same structure, in that it cuts between the sitcom reality that Vision and Wanda have built for themselves, and it also cuts to the modern day stuff that the last episode introduced. I thought Monica, Jimmy and Darcy all made for a nice little trio. I was surprised. I never thought I would like them as like a crime scene investigation trio. But one character that I didn't really like all that much was Tyler Hayward. He just seemed like a bland, boring military antagonist, similar to that of Atlantis, The Lost Empire and Avatar, which are 2 movies that are also available on Disney+. Give them a watch, I guess. Nah, never mind, I wouldn't recommend either of them. I really like that scene in which Vision essentially frees the mind of his co-worker who's one of the people that's trapped within Wanda's sitcom universe. This was probably the worst TV show to talk about whilst drunk. I really liked that scene, and I kind of wish he'd done that to more of the residents of Westview. But the best part about this episode by far, the thing that guaranteed me coming back for episode 6, was the reveal of Quicksilver making his return to the MCU. But instead of the bland, boring Aaron Taylor Johnson who was in Avengers Age of Ultron, I was going to say Endgame and Infinity War, it was the other one, the bad one. They replaced Aaron Taylor Johnson with Evan Peters, who played a much more charismatic Quicksilver in X-Men franchise. episode 5, 6. If you're wondering why I keep looking off to the side here, it's because I've got my laptop with very brief bullet point notes on it, just so I can be somewhat coherent. What episode am I on? Episode 6, the Halloween one, here we go! Anyway, episode 6, the Halloween special, which is very reminiscent of Malcolm in the Middle. The characters of Billy and Tommy sort of take a fourth wall breaking main character role in this episode, and I think that's very good. It gives them a bit of character, it fleshes them out a bit, instead of them just being bland, boring plot devices. They're given a little bit of time to shine in this episode. It's revealed that they also have powers. One of them has powers similar to Wanda's, and one of them has powers similar to Quicksilver. I can't tell you which one though, because fuck their names. Billy and Tommy. If they had had 2 more distinguishing names, I'd probably be able to tell you which one had what superpower. I'm probably making absolutely no sense, and I am sorry. But then again, who cares? You've probably already seen this show, and if you haven't, you're probably not going to watch this video because you're not interested, so it's a pointless video. Anyway, what were we? What were we? Yes, what were we? Where was I? It was nice to see Vision have his own sort of subplot within this episode. It was nice to see him sort of investigate what's truly going on, because spoilers if you haven't seen Avengers Infinity War, which was one of the top 5 highest grossing films of all time and came out roughly about 3 years ago, so if you haven't seen that film, it's your own fault. But Vision died in that movie, and the fact the Vision in this show is obviously not the Vision that we saw prior to Infinity War. This Vision is instead a construct of Wanda's powers. It was nice to see him. It was pretty cool seeing him sort of reach out, asking for help for the people outside, and him dying, and aye. But yeah, no, this was just a solid episode. I haven't seen Malcolm in the Middle, so I couldn't tell you how well they captured the look and feel of that show. But I read that that's what this episode was particularly referencing, so there you go. I'm starting to sound like that old man at the bar who's obviously been there a bit too long. His friends left him ages ago and he's just sat at the bar drinking by himself, talking to some teens about WandaVision, because that's hip and that's cool and that's in the now. Oh, that was the worst one yet. It's the same stuff I'm drinking. That was horrible. Anyway, episode 7, entitled Breaking the Fourth Wall. And I think this is the perfect time where I talk about the music within this show. Very much enjoyed the fact that every episode had its own opening title sequence and theme song. It sort of gave the show its own little USP. USP. I thought I maybe got the letters mixed up. And the reason why I bring that point up now is because this is the episode that brought us the bop that is Agatha all along. In the end of this episode, Agnes reveals her true colours. It is revealed that she is a witch called Agatha. She has been behind the other dark, mysterious things that have happened throughout the series that had nothing to do with the Sword Corporation that's outside the Hex. And the episode ends with her doing these evil deeds in a way that is very similar to the opening of The Monsters, which is the only sitcom that this show references that I've actually seen and have some knowledge of. I think reruns of The Munsters was on Channel 4 or Channel 5 when I was a child, and I remember watching quite a number of those episodes. And I remember watching a number of those episodes when I was younger. Yeah, it was probably the first black and white thing that I'd ever watched. Doesn't help the fact that I've got a ring light. It's just making me more disoriented. So yes, I liked the music. I liked the song Agatha All Along. I liked the twist at the end of this episode. It got me back. It brought me back for the final 2 episodes, and also the advertisements. Whilst we're on the subject of reoccurring, unique things that each episode had, the fake commercials that were in the middle of the sitcom episodes of this show. I love just how experimental this show got occasionally with the opening title sequences and the advertisements. It was just a solid episode overall, but the ending really took it up to its high point. And now we're getting on to episode 8, which is where I start having criticisms with the show, but I've got a feeling I'm not going to be able to effectively communicate them because I'm a little bit tipsy. Penultimate shot, boys, here we go. Actually, that one wasn't that bad. 15% alcohol. That's fine. That's alright. That's fine. I can live with that. By this point, each individual episode that was referencing a particular sitcom had caught up to us by this point. I don't even know if that makes sense. Does that even make sense? I didn't like this episode at all when I first watched it. It felt like it came from a completely different show. That's a note written by Sober Me. And I never really got into this episode up until Vision made his first appearance. But prior to that, we had an opening scene that just... the show up until this point has been reminiscent of media and sitcoms that we had seen. So randomly cutting to Salem in the 1600s, I was initially terrified. I thought that this was going to be similar to Haunting of Bly Manor, in which the penultimate episode would just stop the action in the show dead in its tracks to give us the backstory of a seemingly minor element that we could have as like it could be its own show. I would love to see a show of Agatha throughout the years and how she's been living her life, but having that just sort of ram its head into this show which isn't about her just sort of distracted me. And I feel like this episode was just reinforcing plot points and details that we had already known up until like the last 10-15 minutes, which, given that all the episodes in this show are just over half an hour long, I guess is half the episode. If any kids are watching at home, don't drink. Don't drink. It might be cool when you're 18, but not when you're 23 and you're stuck in the house drinking yourself talking about a Disney show. However, I will say thank God for Catherine Hahn, the woman that played Agatha. It was just nice to see this fairly underrated actress have a chance to shine. And I do really, really hope that we see her appear in later Marvel projects, but given the fate that she has at the end of this series, it's probably not going to happen. But fuck it, they brought literally half the cast back to life in Avengers Endgame, so who's to say that this character won't come back in a later project? Which means it's the last shot of the night, boys. Thank the Lord above. I only have to do one more shot of source. Here we go. Episode 9, despite having the most unimaginative title of the entire show, with it simply being entitled The Series Finale, I really enjoyed it. Don't ask me what I'm doing with this hand. It's dead. It's dead. There we are. Sprung back to life. There we go. I really liked the finale, and I didn't think I would like it as much as I did at first, because at the start of this episode I was worried that this would just become one half an hour long action set piece. But thankfully this episode was a lot more character centred than that. The theme of who's the true villain in this scenario, the obviously evil witch who's been doing some of the more dastardly shit throughout the show, or the main character Wanda, who has basically imprisoned all of these residents of Westview. And I really liked that. I also really liked the fact that the people within Westview started having a little bit more to do within this episode. Fuck it, who cares about my hair? Who am I trying to impress? I'm in the house myself. My hair doesn't look impressive most of the time anyway, so fuck it. Yeah. It was emotional. Every single character that appeared within the series had their time to shine, and I've got a feeling that a lot of Marvel fans will be fairly disappointed that the theories didn't come true within this final episode. But being someone who just wants to watch some good quality content, I really wish I had more to say. But as of recording this, I've only seen the finale once. I have got a few notes here, but I'm pissed. I am defeated. Truly defeated. If you're like me and you're not a huge fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, give it a try. I would suggest giving it a try. There's little elements in there that I believe will cater to everyone. Obviously, just have a little bit of knowledge of the Marvel Cinematic Universe up until this point before you delve into this show. But the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe, it is just essentially a TV show consisting of big budget movies. That's not a noise that should come from your body. Neither should that. After releasing my reaction to the Human Centipede and the Fly, and with the two videos being quite well received, I'm very thankful to have people just watch them. They do make making these videos worth it. So thank you. If you have, even if you've just simply watched this video and you've smiled at least once, I feel like my job is done. With that, I finished my Budweiser. Please subscribe to the channel, like the video if you liked it, comment in the comment section down below, just anything, just tell me how your day was. Please be sure to like us on Instagram and Facebook again, Instagram is the best way to ensure that you have a say in what content gets put on this channel in the future. So until next time, stay safe. Don't do anything stupid like I've just done here. Please, do not do this. And I'll see you next time, I guess. Seeing as I've got half of this bottle to down, I'll take one last shot for the road. Oh, for God's sake. I'm just looking at the setup that I've got here. And this is a sofa bed. So God help me turning this back into a bed.